right, everyone. Welcome back to the Before Midnight podcast, coming to you from Frankfort, Kentucky. In this podcast, we explore the world of age group triathletes. We'll be looking at the real world challenges of being an amateur multi-sport athlete. I'm your host, Linda Word, along with my co-host Brian Schenkenfelder. Felder. Oh my gosh, gotta say your name right, Brian. It's been a while. How are you? My gosh, long time.
Who are you again?
Yeah, we see each other
I
occasionally.
know, we still see
Now we're
each other.
seeing.
But it has
Now we
been
see each
over
other.
a year since we have done a podcast now. I think it was December of 2022, yeah. We did not do anything in the year of 2023. We just
Oh
purged
wow.
that from our memory and moved on, I guess. so what
It
did
it was a long year, but it just got full, didn't it?
so what did you do the last year then?
All right, so let's see. In 2023, how did that start? I was in grad school
That's right.
and working very, very hard and getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning so I could get work, my schoolwork done. Because by the time I would get out of my real job, it was like, yeah, I don't have a brain. I'm going to bed. So training kind of went out the window. I developed, as far as athletics, I developed some arthritis in my knee, which kind of stunk. So being a triathlete, being an athlete kind of was just for mental health, not any kind of competitive anything in 2023.
But you did
And
graduate, right?
then I did graduate. I walked in my graduation. Everybody was like, "Why on earth would you do that? You're like 56 years old. Why would you walk your graduation?" I'm like, because I'm 56 years old and I can, so I'm going to.
So
So
because you can physically walk, you're going to go walk?
I did. I did.
Oh man, I didn't walk when I was in
Shoot, if
college.
I was
I
hobbling.
wouldn't walk now. I can't imagine sitting through the whole ceremony. How many people were at the graduation event?
It was all the schools. I mean, like the
So
people
like
that
two
showed
thousand
up.
people, 3,000.
No, they had three separate graduations that day.
Okay.
We were the first one. So we had to like get it done and get out.
Well,
There were
yeah.
probably 400,
Okay,
three or
400.
400 people graduating at the same time as me. And then like, we got out of there, and like an hour later, another school came in and did theirs.
Oh yeah. Now that's not too bad. That's just like a high school, which I remember my high school. That was painful enough. Still can't imagine going through
Yeah.
it. But congratulations on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was, and it was funny because I graduated. Of course, you get the blank diploma, and I still had one class to take, so I didn't
Okay.
actually get my diploma. I graduated May, whatever. Walked in May, but I didn't actually get the diploma until September,
Yeah.
I believe.
I didn't walk. I
So,
just remember walking over to the bursar's office and just picking it up, bringing it home, just a
yeah.
roll of paper. Like, after I
Well, and
spend all
it's
this
funny,
money,
yeah.
can't you all like at least frame it for us or something?
And it's like not even that big. It's the same size as my associate's degree and my bachelor's degree. I'm like, this isn't master's. This should be freaking huge, but no, it's
No, the
not.
master's is usually tiny. Yeah, it's your
Yeah.
bachelor degree is the one that's usually the biggest of the bunch.
My bachelor's degree is the same size as my master's, is the same size as my
Okay.
associates. And I'm
Well,
like,
there you go.
well, this is like no fun. But anyway,
It all depends on the school. Schools do things differently.
I guess. I guess. And then let's see, later on that year, I had a major surgery too. So that was another thing that kind of pulled me out of the whole sports loop at the end of 2020. That was at the end of 2022. Ooh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, what year are we? Oh my God.
It's 24. Let's go. New year.
Wow.
I'm excited.
All right. It is a
Mostly.
new year. Yeah, you know,
Except for that whole
it's
getting.
winter time, so it's not that exciting. But
Yeah, especially when you get sick on your birthday. That's good stuff,
that's
man.
right. Yeah,
It
sick on
may
your
not.
birthday and sub-zero temperatures too. Yay.
It may not have been the flu. My wife went to the clinic today and she has COVID, so maybe I have COVID instead.
Oh my God.
It doesn't matter because it's all treated the
No,
same,
no,
and
it's all the same.
it's
Yeah.
hilarious. You start going online. I was online, I guess today, and looking at what are the symptoms for the flu and COVID? And like both of them are like, all of them are very similar to each other. The only way you can tell the difference is
Yes.
if you go to the doctors and get tested. What's the point, man? Let's just. I got sick with something. I
You were very
flu or
sick.
COVID. I
Yes.
took me out for a few days. That was a great birthday present. Birthday present
Yeah.
just keeps on giving.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Hopefully you didn't give it to everybody else. Well, you gave it to your wife. Well, wait, who
No,
was
it
sick
came to
first though?
me. She got it from like her sister or work or something. She brought it to me. She was sick before I was. It happens.
And then she got better.
Yeah, but
And then
now
she was
she's
sick again.
she's she's reverting. So I don't know if she got two different illnesses, which is I guess a possibility, or if it's just kind of if it's COVID, it could just be lingering.
Right.
And I just
Hmm.
because I have a tendency, she doesn't shut down. When I get sick, I tend to like just go into like a shell and come back a couple days later better. She generally is a little bit more robust with how she manages life when sick. Me, not so much. I'm done.
Well, that's kind of a mom thing. You don't have a choice generally. Just
Possibly, yeah.
just say it. I mean, you know, I my husband traveled. I was a single mom. I didn't it didn't matter if I was sick or not. You still had to function
Well,
and take care of kids. So,
I get that, but I mean, it's like I go into a position where like I cannot function. Like there's just no way to function. All I can do is just lay there and just stare at the wall. My brain just refuses to function. It's wild. Everything just
that's
shuts down.
interesting. Yeah. No, women are not like that.
Yeah, it's all good. It's just different. Just a different way of dealing with
Yeah,
illness.
it's just different. Yep.
It's all
Yep.
wild.
So what have you been doing for the last year in all of 2023? What did you do?
Um, well, as my son advances up in soccer, he had this. He was on a team, King's Hammer, and they soccer's weird. You try out in June, beginning of June, end of May, but you don't start until August. And we kind of
Okay.
was running the end of the year, and King's Hammer came back to us and said, "Well, we're going to restructure, and the team you're on now, that practices twice a week, is now going to be parent led. It's going to cost the same, but it's going to be parent led. We're going to help the
Oh,
we're going to
what?
assign the parent like a coach to kind of guide them and give them a training plan and stuff like that. But it's still going to be a parent led team." And I'm like, for the same amount of money, yeah.
So who was so the parent was getting that money?
The parent got free. Their child got free for the season. Didn't
Okay, for
cost them
them.
anything outside of like the uniform. You still had to buy the uniform. That's separate. But
Okay.
like the coaching fees were zero for that
Were
year,
waived.
or
Okay.
waived for that year. You know, so Alex's team was like, "Yeah, we're out." So they began shopping around for different locations. We looked at maybe trying to form a GFC Frankfurt team, which would have been hella handy. But
Mm,
I didn't think that was going to probably happen. I wish it would. There were a number of parents that liked the idea, but not enough to form a team because
okay.
you're playing 11v11 now, which means you need 14, 15 kids,
Yeah,
which
Frankfurt
is
just
even
doesn't have.
bigger than the current team. They end up going towards academy. We signed up for the academy program. Alex made the team, which is good. Not everybody from his team made it, which kind of stinks. He had some good friends that didn't make it.
Mm,
But like half his team made it, so he still knew half of them, and the other half came from another program in Lexington. And they practice 3 times a week now. Unfortunately, they're not all in Versailles, which is right down the street from us. Now we're doing twice a week in Lexington and 1 day a week in Versailles. That is a lot more driving. That's another, instead of doing a 20-minute drive to practice, it's a 40-minute drive to practice. That's another 40 minutes in travel time twice a week.
yes. Well, I drove him.
Yeah.
What day? I drove him Monday when you all were
Oh
fighting
yeah,
illness. Yes, and driving back actually in a blizzard, and I was like, "Oh God, I have their son." Your wife is going to kill me if I wreck. So I'm like calling her, going, I'm driving like 35. I'm being really careful with your kid.
Oh no, it's all good. But he's on a good team. If you
Yeah,
watch
no,
them,
I
they
was
are a
watching.
really good
Yeah.
team. I mean,
Yeah. A
they're
few of
very
them, I was
skilled.
like, whoa, how did he just do that with that ball? I like the
Yeah,
coach too. I like the way he talked to the kids. I mean, he kept them moving.
he's a high
There was
energy,
no,
very high
yes,
energy guy. Very excited,
yes.
very much wanting to move up the coaching ladder. And this is his chance. I mean, this is his first like really good team he's been given, and he really wants to push them to get better and kind of like
That's good.
take himself up the coaching ladder. Myself, my team is going along. I got my D license, so now I'm a licensed, sorry, not certified, a licensed coach to coach club soccer now in USA Soccer. So that puts
Yay.
me on
Congrats.
the pathway, and that was a lot of work. A lot
Yeah.
of time involved in that one. The other thing I've been working on, I guess, the last year was a book on triathlon called
Woohoo.
Yes, finished. It's been published called Rethinking Triathlon. We're looking to we'll be talking about that probably in upcoming episodes. But that obviously took some time. So there's been a lot of things going on. But from like
That is really cool. I'm sorry. I'm just so impressed that you wrote a book. I don't know many authors. I mean,
yeah, that was one that's been
I
sitting
mean,
around
all I
for
did was go
a
get a
while.
master's. You
Yeah,
wrote a
boy,
book. That is just
the
so cool.
masters is much harder.
Yes, but it's
uh,
still, I don't know. A lot of people have masters. Not many people are authors.
but
Congrats. That's cool.
but from like a racing standpoint, last year was a disaster. Man, my training was completely thrown off the rails very early. Of my father passing and then getting sick like immediately after that, and then I'm coming back a month or so back into because I think I was like I was getting into it. I was about a month or so into base training. He passed away. I lost that, and then I got like COVID like the week after that. So like 3 or 4 weeks gone. Lost the month of February, beginning of March. Come back in, get going to about April or so. Have a bike crash where I
Oh my! I
slid
forgot
out.
about that wreck. Oh,
I slid out. That took me out for
never go on
another
that
two or
road again.
three.
That's
I
a
know,
second wreck in that
second
spot.
same
Oh.
spot, yeah. And it was that took me out for another 2 or 3 weeks, which took me back another month. I didn't even start my base until May. Needless to say, I didn't have anywhere near the fitness necessary to race at levels that I was used to racing pre-COVID. And
How many races did you do last year?
just the two. And neither one
You
of them went
did
very well.
Mojo and
I didn't do
did you
Mojo. I ended
do?
up doing try. We did try Indy.
Oh, that's right.
I did try
At least I didn't
Indy.
get. I didn't get lost.
You didn't get lost, and then I did try for sight in Lexington, and both of those
That's
were
right.
very mediocre races. And you know, I come out of that, and because I am so competitive, I'm like, do I still want to race? I mean, I don't mind training, but do I want to race? And so, I mean, I guess that's my question this year: is do I have the desire to get out there and put in the level of training necessary to kind of get back to those I mean, I'm never going to get as fast as I probably was back then when I was had more
Yeah, I
time to
mean, you
train.
just
I
had
wasn't doing
another
soccer.
birthday. Those
I'm
things
getting
happen.
older, but I'd like to get back in the ballpark within a couple minutes. I'd to be able to race at that level. I mean, most of it's just a matter of can I get the training in, and that's going to be tough with soccer and life and everything else. Hopefully this year,
Yeah.
I mean, start my year off with sickness. But the base
It's
training is
just
just now
January.
starting, so I'm okay still. Let's see what
Yeah. I
February,
was gonna
March,
say
and
get
April
get
give
get
me.
the illness out of the way now.
Let's see if I can make it to Derby without any problems.
Jesus.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it's good stuff,
It's
man.
been
Good stuff.
yes, it's been a year, that's for sure. All right. Well, speaking of seasons and getting our year together in 2024, here we are in January. What's we're going to talk a little bit about how to plan out a year. Now's the time to do it.
Yeah,
What's the best way to approach this? How do you approach it?
yeah. Like this is the time of the year where I start thinking in terms of like, how can I skeleton out my season? training is not something you can do at a high level year round. You can't just like I'm gonna train, get to this high level, and stay at this high level indefinitely. It just doesn't work that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, no.
Training is very cyclical, and what I can do is I can kind of work up to like a peak. And then I can come back down a little bit, and then I can work up to another peak. And because we can only go kind of up to a peak, maybe one or two peaks in a given year, it makes sense to go, okay, if I have a race that I really want to do well in, that seems like that would be a really good spot for that peak performance. And so that's kind of where I start. It's like, okay, which of these races do I want the possibility for me to be at my highest fitness level for that race? And then I kind of begin working backwards. Like, so for me, I'm looking at what races are big this year. There is nationals in, where is that? In Atlantic
It's
City?
in Atlantic City. It's in September too. I got to figure out where that swim is before I make that my peak race. I qualified because I did 3 races last year, so I'm actually eligible to go this year.
Yeah, I looked that up.
Oh, did you? Good,
I
because I
did look it up. I'm now
forgot.
trying to remember where it was.
Where is
Atlantic
that swim?
City's
Because
in New
if
Jersey.
it's, I do not want to swim
Uh,
in the ocean in September up north.
oh, what was the place? Where was it going to be at? Wasn't it like Beasley? It was some type of point. It was like it was a former, it's a former airport up there. I don't remember, but I think it takes place inside like a sound area
Okay.
where not in the ocean, but kind of where the rivers kind of come in together. They usually have like the barrier islands and stuff.
It's probably like what you call it. When I went to you didn't go the year I did up to Chicago.
It wasn't up. That was in it wasn't Chicago. It was in Minneapolis,
No,
not Minneapolis, Wisconsin, Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Yes, Milwaukee was like in a sound. It was protected. It was nice. It was actually one of the better big swims I've ever done.
Where's nationals this year? Oh, this is really good podcasting. But nationals is going to be up in New Jersey. It's going to be potentially really cold. Atlantic City, Baderfield. That's what it's called. Baderfield. Baderfield. I did look this up. Is a former, yeah. So it's going to be kind of in a sound area. There's like a bay type area,
Okay.
but it's a former airport that's going to be the base of
Okay.
operation, which you're going to run out of and set up transition area in. Um, I don't know how good the bike's going to be up there, but yeah, it'll be kind
Flat.
of it will be flat. It will probably be a saltwater swim though, which that sounds awful. I'll be honest.
Well, if I were to do it, I mean, it's nationals. I'm not gonna do, you know, I'm not winning an age group or anything like that at nationals. I'm
Oh
going for
no,
the experience.
yeah,
So if I'm
nationals is
going for the
crazy.
experience, I might as well experience, saltwater. Why not?
Well, it's at least buoyant. It's gonna be more
Yeah,
buoyant than
buoyant with a wetsuit. That could be fun. It's been years since I've swam in saltwater. I used to
yeah.
do it all the time as a kid.
I
So
mean, the swim would in theory be faster. It probably would be slightly faster than like last one in Cleveland, which was the god awful swim
oh,
from
never.
hell.
That was horrible. Yeah.
So I mean, there are some advantages to going up there. I mean, the problem is it's what is that, a good 13, 14 hour drive?
Yeah,
That's a
that would be the kicker too.
yeah, that would definitely be a, let's see, What does it say?
Massachusetts is 16 hours,
Well,
so
it's only an 11.5 hour drive. There you go.
okay. That's still, I'd want to do that in 2 days. So
That's a long drive. That's one where you'd have to. I think you'd go up and maybe spend the week up there, or spend like half a week coming back or something. Take your time coming
yeah,
back and make that a vacation race. But yeah, that's an option. Like I said, I don't really like cold weather, and the chance of that being cold is non-zero. I mean, that's about the same time as try for sight in Kentucky. I mean, it's been 40 something degrees when that race
yeah,
has
it's
been
been
run.
cold there. Yeah.
I can only imagine that New Jersey would be a little bit more cool, and I imagine the water would be very cold.
Really cold. Yeah.
That's not me. So like I'm like, okay, that's not a place I want to go. It's not a race I want to do this year. What else can I do that's kind of in that time frame? Because I like to race in July, August when it's warm. Because I like warmth. That's the reason I don't race when it's cold. In cold places to race. One of my favorite races, I guess, is that Mojo Triathlon up in Cincinnati. Last year was the end of August. I'm going to assume it's probably the end of August again this year. It's been there a couple years now. Looking at the calendar, that would be roughly August 25th. So I'm like, okay, so that is when I want to peak. That's when I want to kind of have my best fitness. That way, when I go out and race, I can go out and race at my highest fitness levels. Yeah. Now, what I do is I can now begin to work backwards. So when we look at a season, you come out of the off season, you go into a base period. That's going to be, I guess, let's take these in terms of like smaller blocks of training. Generally,
Okay.
now when I'm my age, once we get above 40, a block of training is going to be 2 weeks of like intensity, followed by 1 week of recovery that's usually easier, pulls all the intensity out. If we're younger, we would do 3 weeks on, 1 week off. So for older people, it's 3 week blocks. For younger people, it's 4 week blocks. If I'm looking at base training as an older adult, I'm thinking probably 5 blocks of training, which would be 10 weeks up, 5 weeks down. For a younger person, that'd be probably 4 blocks of training, which would be 12 weeks up and 4 weeks down.
Yeah.
Roughly the same amount of training that goes into that. Maybe I do 6 blocks as an older adult. So we're looking at 15 to 18 weeks for base. Then and the whole purpose of base is what? We're just trying to gain fitness, right? So this is going to be easy stuff. This is going to be things that are not race specific. We want to do like really hard efforts. Like, I'm doing Olympic distance, so maybe some 5K pace, some 2K pace, 1K pace, some sprints. On the bike, we're going to talk about just really hard VO2 max type efforts. Maybe some anaerobic stuff like 20, 30-second sprints.
It's so funny because when you say base, it sounds like, oh, that's easy stuff. And then you say, oh, this is like, no, it's not. Never mind.
No, base is not easy. Base is about generating fitness. And so fitness is done. There's 2 things of fitness. There's the aerobic base is really what you're trying to build during this period. You're trying to build general fitness and your aerobic base. So that's where the easy part comes in. We begin to expand out our easy work and go into longer and longer stuff. This is, because I'm in the off season. I'm doing 30-minute runs. I can't. We're gonna go into the build and stuff. I need to be able to do longer than 30-minute runs. I need to do like 45, 50-minute runs. So the base is about, okay, now I'm at 30 minutes. Let's expand this out. Let's get up to maybe an hour of running and build up our aerobic capacity in the run. On the bike, I need to get up to maybe a 2 or 3 hour bike where I'm building my aerobic capacity. But if all we do is aerobic, our fitness will stagnate. So we got to come up with different ways to stimulate the body to force it to adapt. And that's where the hard work stuff comes in. So this is where, from like a running standpoint, maybe I do some marathon pacing. Maybe I do some half marathon pacing. maybe do some, like I said, some 5K, 1K, some sprints. The bike, I might do some tempo riding. It's not something I would do in a race, but it's harder than just an easy ride. Or maybe I go and, like I said, do some short sprints, do some short hill repeats where you're going all out and tapping into your VO2 max. Just different things to force my body to change. That's base training. The build, now we're talking about race-specific training. So for like myself, that's 10K pace. It's an Olympic distance race. I need 10K pace. I'm going to need sub-threshold biking. So, I mean, not all-out biking, but, a little bit below that. That's where my training is going to be for the bike during that period. Because now I want to create adaptations for the paces I want to race, right?
Right.
We're trying to get ourselves ready to race and to be able to deal with the stress of race day. And that's what the training in this middle block is. And so your build is going to be, for like the younger people, it'd be 2 blocks, 8 weeks. For the olders, we're talking about 3 blocks, about 9 weeks, which is about 2 months in time, which is a long time to do race-specific work. I mean, that's 60 or...
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's 60 plus days of it. And then lastly, you're going to have a peak, which is where you begin to shed off some of the volume, a lot of your volume, kind of keep some intensity for some sharpness, but most of your volume goes away and it allows your body to recover and regain what they call form. So you have fitness and form, and if I'm always jacking and trying to push up my fitness, my form goes down because my ability to use fitness is weak because I'm tired. That's
Right.
really what form is how well can I use my fitness. If I'm tired, I really can't use my fitness very well. So we use the peak to rest, giving us the ability to regain form and our ability to use the fitness. Now we're going to shed a little bit of fitness over 2 or 3 weeks, but not enough to see. And if you get this right, your race day should be phenomenal. When you get this wrong, a couple weeks after your race, you go out and go biking, and you're like, this is the greatest day ever.
Why didn't I feel this way 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, why didn't I feel this 2 weeks ago when I was racing? But when you get it right, it works. When you get it wrong, yeah, you'll feel it a couple weeks after your race, which is a little suboptimal.
Yeah.
So you want to get that peak right, and some of there's some art to that as much as science. So
You gotta
usually
get your head out of the way on a lot of that.
yeah. So for me, peak is usually 3 weeks long. What that means then is I can then go take my race day, which is August 25th, and begin working my way back. So if the peak is 3 weeks, then I know my peak is going to start, just looking at the calendar, working my way back, the week of August 5th. Okay. Boom. So August 5th rolls around, I know I'm going to be pulling back, beginning to rest, get ready for race day. Now, I would go back 9 weeks for that. 9 times 7, the 63 days earlier than that. That brings me back 2 months to like June 3rd, just looking at the calendar. So my build would start in June, which is great. Now I've got my summer, June, July, August. I'm going to do all my hard training to race and race. That's great. It's the warmest time of the year. I'm happy.
Meanwhile, Linda's going, God, it's too hot. I don't want to do that.
So now my base training is going to be 15 weeks. Maybe we push it back a few more if we want to add a few more weeks in the base. Just looking at the calendar and working my way back, that takes me to February 19th. So my season would start February 19th. I could then set up my 5 blocks for base training that end on June 3rd, my 3 blocks for build that end on August 5th, and then my 3-week peak plan. And so then I can kind of chunk up my season. I don't have to think about, oh my God, what workouts am I going to be doing 2 months from now? I can go, oh, I'm in the first block of my base. This is generally what I would want to do in my first block. And then my second block is going to be, 10, 20% more. And each block is going to be a little bit more volume. And I work my way forward from there. And that's generally how I go about structuring my season and my weekly training. I don't think about plans more than a week or 2 in advance because it's unnecessary. I know what block I'm in. I look at a block and I go block by block. So right now I'm
Mhm.
still in my off season. So let's go. I can be sick.
Yeah, take care of all that now, right?
Let's get that out now. But I'll probably begin to ramp up and kind of begin base now because my runs are right about 30 minutes. I'm not really doing much biking at all. I've been kind of walking instead. So I'll probably start biking some on the rollers.
I was going to say, you aren't going outside.
I'll probably try to get some mountain biking in. I'm gonna need to get some of the snow out of here in the extreme cold. Although the
Oh, come
extreme
on.
cold
It was
is,
a blast yesterday. I went yesterday. I had so much fun. It was cold. My fingertips were actually the only thing cold, and it was beautiful with the snow. But there were no other tracks. I was the only other person that
yeah,
was
snow
out
can
there
be.
in that.
You can run into issues with snow. You can run into issues with ice too when it gets this cold.
I was very careful, especially since I was by myself too. So
Yeah.
it's like, be careful.
Um,
But
I'll start doing that. Like I said, I'll probably start increasing my long runs. I'll probably try to get up. By the beginning of February, probably try to get my run up to about my long run. I'll start having a long run each work. Try to get that up to maybe 40 minutes, just so that when I go into base, I'm not starting at zero. That way, I can kind of really. I'm kind of in a pre-base, I guess. We'll call it a pre-base.
what I'm doing right now, actually, I've got, even though I'm a personal trainer, I went ahead and got a strength trainer because I stink at that. And I was like, you know what, now's the time for me to work on that and spend my energy doing that. And all my runs, swims, bikes are really just mental health. I don't. I mean, I'll get on the trainer every once in a while. I've been doing some of that just because I have a nice one, and it's like it's a waste sitting back there. So but definitely mountain biking when I can. And swimming, I'm just working all on technique right now,
Yeah.
and it's paying off though. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like on the swimming side, I'm starting to try to get my volume up because I was getting to the point where I was only doing like 1,500 yards when I was swimming, 1,200. Like today, they got me sucked into some storytelling of like the joy of what happened to my house by the crazy guy. If you remember that story, they got me sucked into telling that
Oh my gosh.
story. So I only swam like
Look
500
back
yards
about
today.
2 years on PoTrack. Look back in
Yeah,
2020, guys, if you
2020.
want to know
Yeah,
the podcast.
yeah. I got stuck into like a 30, 40-minute story, so I only swam like 500 yards today.
My gosh,
I've been
you
trying to
see
get
this.
that up to about. I'm trying to get that up to closer to 2,000. So I'm once base comes, I can continue.
Hence
But
why I'm showing up to the pool at 5:15 before practice.
yeah,
He's there.
but yeah, no. I mean, you got to get some yardage in, and for me, that's just trying to get up to the point where I can do. I'm doing 2,000-yard workouts more regularly than not. Uh, is
Mhm.
kind of my other goal before base, so that I can kind of get in there and just get myself acclimating to doing more distance.
More makes sense.
More distance just in general. I mean, that's where I have to get on swimming is, you know, we'll work. I mean, it's a long way to work different speeds and stuff like that. I'm not really worried about that. But yeah, for now, it's just try to get ready for just a bigger load each week.
Yep. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Great way to start. It's good, a good time of year to just start thinking about it and
Oh
and start
yeah. I mean
scoping
this.
things out. Because if you don't do it now, all of a sudden it's like, oh shoot, when's that race? So it's a good time of year to start looking at all those registrations, when everything is, what
Well,
you want.
it's also good to keep you from going overboard this time of the year, because the last thing you
True.
want to be is a winter shooting star. The guy who it's like, yeah, gung ho, and now it comes March, April, they're burnt out and
Yeah.
injured and on the
It's
side.
like, oh well, I'm done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've peaked, even though I've still got 4 or 5 more months to go.
Yep. Planning is everything.
Oh yeah.
Yep. But and also, I mean, we're amateur athletes. We also have families with vacations and things like that.
Oh
So
yeah.
looking at, trying to schedule all of that in with the training, if you look at it now, it makes it a whole lot simpler and you don't get it's harder to get derailed.
Yeah, and if you're significant other goes, hey, when would be a good time to go on vacation? I can go look at these blocks and go, which one of these is a recovery week? Let's go that week.
Yeah. Yeah. Or where are we going? Is it bit biking? It's yeah. I'll go ahead and do that. Yep, yep, yep. Sounds good. Well, Brian, it's great to see you again.
It is good. It's good. It's good to
And
get this going again. It's
yeah,
been too long.
and I mean, we're not in the same physical location, but
Yes, we
we'll
have.
see how this
We
is
have.
new for us.
We have figured out how to do this without having to be the same physical location, which means that we should be able to do these on the reg.
Which means I'm not going to get sick from everybody in your house, too.
No, you're not going to bring your sickness from the school into our house. More than Alex
That's
already
your
does.
son's. That's your son's job. I was
Well,
going to
you're
say.
in the other building, man. He's only in one building. I don't get the full
I,
effect.
I'm in the other building with 70 small people, and I have immunity like you would not believe.
Because their immune systems are even less than my son's.
Yeah, I live in the world of snot. That's just what it is. Joy, joy, joy. Teaching small humans. They're great. Keep me fit. Works out. Well, thank you everybody for listening. We are hoping, yes, that we will make this on a regular basis. Keep on continuing to do this.
Yeah.
And where can you find us, Brian?
We are on all the major podcasting platforms. We're going to post this on YouTube as well. If this is your first time listening to us, do us a favor, subscribe. We are going to be publishing once a week. To let you know, we did this this is our 193rd episode. So we did this for 3 years before we took a year hiatus.
Yes.
So we're used to doing it every week. So if you want this content on a regular basis, I mean, we're going to do this weekly. It's a good spot to get information. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, like I said, and we'll be providing weekly content for you.
And please, if you have any suggestions of things you want us to talk about, we would love to hear ideas. I mean, we can definitely find stuff to talk about, but we want to know what people listening want to hear too.
Yeah, you can send us an email, coach@go3sport.com. And we'll
we will find out some information.
Yeah, so send us an email if you have an idea. And as always, have a great day if you want to.
All right.